We're going to have some fun with this one. I know that much. There's a lot to talk about, though. I had fun. That was seriously, that was a blast to watch, man. I mean, what more can you ask for in a game like that? That had everything. Physicality all across the board, chippiness, a little bit of extracurricular stuff. Both quarterbacks just sharp as a tack, man. Dak, let's just call it what it is. Dak's once again playing like an MVP. That's MVP caliber quarterback play. And it's a shame that 40 points still wasn't enough, but it's gonna sound crazy to some of y'all, to a lot of you, most likely. But it, I'm pretty sure I know what I saw with the Cowboys defense. They were better today. I know that sounds wild to what we just watched. I know that's hard to fathom right now, and maybe I'm wrong about that, but the gut instinct tells me that that's correct. The defense took a step in the right direction today. You just played. First of all, don't overlook real quick before I elaborate on the defense. Don't overlook what the offense just did in this tie. And don't worry about the glasses too. This is I lost. I lost my blue light glasses, and I don't know where they're at. I know I got to get some sleep after this, so I figured these aren't blue light, but got to get some sleep. Keep all this late screen time or limited as best as I possibly can. Don't overlook what that offense just did, though. The Cowboys' offense to that team, that Packers defense, you don't beat them throwing the football. Or at least most teams shouldn't. Most teams won't, and you shouldn't be able to. And if you didn't just search Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons sack, it'll probably pop up. I posted one of the clips of it too. Dak in the post game interview immediately after the game, he finds out in real time from the sideline reporter that the statistician did credit Micah with the sack on that last chase down play. And it was just cool to see the human element of sport and play there. At the end of the day, Dak and Mike are just two kids that love playing a game, right? And so I found that interesting and amusing. What was Dak's final line? Actually, I want to go through some of the numbers. Just try to catch up. Just try to take a deep breath for a second, because there's a lot to process. But we'll do that together here. So. I want to see what these rushing totals were. I want to see what these passing totals were. I need to look at it. Time of possession. 40 point, the second highest tie in NFL history, by the way. The broadcast team did a good job of bringing that to life or pointing that out. So we got Dak and Jordan Love literally going blow for blow, man. 31 of 43 for Jordan Love, 337 and 3. And 31 of 40 for Dak, 319 yards and 3 touchdowns. So we got 337 and 3, 319 and 3 from each quarterback, respectively. Dak with a 94.4 quarterback rating. This is according to ESPN, by the way. It's not fact-based or anything like that. It's just different metrics, different ways that don't tell the whole story. None of this stuff is gospel. Okay, it's just interesting to look at, right? This is the immediate reaction, so we're just talking, we're just thinking out loud. 58 QBR for Jordan Love, 94.4 for Dak. That Packers team is going to embarrass a lot of teams that have 31 completions and or 40 attempts against them. MVP caliber quarterback play. We'll go through that stuff too. We'll confirm all that. But it'd be crazy to go any further without mentioning George Pickens. I had my questions. We discussed and broke down some of the film that was a concern and agreed on a lot of different platforms, a lot of different fronts and interactions that we would continue to track this situation and be honest and objective about it. This was a money game for George Pickens, right? A 4-week window in theory with everything that was up the way that it did. On a stage like this, in a moment where CeeDee Lamb is out for 4 weeks, you are one of the more polarizing players in the entire sport over the course of your career. You have undeniable talent and ability, but a history of some of the things that cause the polarization of like just ever so slightly keeping the lid on your ceiling as a star, as an alpha receiver in this league. And quarterbacks were also putting a lid on his ceiling as well. Let's be honest and objective about that too. Okay. But perhaps certain, let's just say a kid that needed to mature just a little bit more because of how much he loves the sport, because of how much he loves to compete. You see him painted in a negative light. And I think I said in the past, miscast. I actually wrote about that on athlonsports.com. You can go read that article if that's of any interest to you. Misfit versus miscast was the title of that article. And I just kind of talked about what I'm talking about right now. You know, how it's easy to misunderstand a player like George because of how passionate he is about his profession. And I resonate well with that. I get that. I have been that to a degree, like nowhere near the athlete that he is, obviously. Don't get that twisted. But I've felt what it feels like to kind of go through the ups and flows of the ebbs and flows of competition, man. And I know how frustrating it can be. So I can't imagine what I have experienced on just taken to a level that's like unimaginable in the arena that he's in, right? The microscope that he's under. It's just it's cool to see it work out this way when he is in a contract year, right? Like this year, this 4-week stretch where it seems like all the odds are stacked against the Cowboys. You got linemen out all over the place. There's a turnstile at tackle. They're trying to figure out the best ways to match up. Guys, look no further. Let me get, you know what? Let's do this. Let me get a for my man Nate Thomas coming in playing some right tackle tonight, coming in playing some left tackle tonight. Don't overlook how good that Packers defense is to the point to where one very expensive as far as draft capital and expectation is concerned. Left tackle, a very expensive one, a very promising one, a very exciting player, another polarizing player because of his performance as a rookie. But if you dig in deep enough into his history, you understand why that the growing pains, the learning curve was always to be expected. We knew this. We knew better as a fan base. Guy's been playing football full-time for 5 years, okay? And he wasn't a full-time tackle for more than one until he was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys at left tackle, right? switching sides from OU and expected to replace this Hall of Fame, like first ballot Hall of Famer, Tyron Smith. Dude was a basketball player, right? His story is insane. But this is a titanic matchup against Rashawn Gary, who should be a household name. I don't know how he isn't at this point. But he plays in Green Bay, which probably has a lot to do with it, right? If he played for the Cowboys, everybody would know his name. That's just reality. But then you add Micah to that mix. You have Van Ness. You have, Devontae Wyatt from Bama. He ended up exiting this game about halfway through. He had some stuff. I was actually surprised that he played. I didn't expect him to. I think he was dealing with back injuries, then he leaves the game with a knee. So, but he was given. I didn't expect Tyler Smith to be saying that he was going to get his butt whooped tonight, but he did on a couple different occasions because of Devontae Wyatt. That's an All-Pro that we're talking about, Tyler Smith, right? But so Nate Thomas gets the first of the evening, but it should have been the fourth or fifth. And we'll continue elaborating on some of those things. But don't overlook how talented that Packers defense is and how impressive 40 points is. Because we track. Y'all just start watching. The Packers may lose more games in the future. And they'll probably an ugly game or two between now and the postseason. But you watch. Those games that they lose ain't going to be no high-scoring affairs because teams don't just get in shootouts with that team. One, because of how high-powered and well-coached they are offensively. But two, because you don't want to be dropping back and throwing the football against that pass rush. That was our pregame prediction, was that kitchen sink and ball control was the way to beat them. And in a lot of cases, that actually came to fruition. But Dak and his banged-up, battered, compromised at best offensive line tonight behind Brock Hoffman and TJ Bass, who get the second of the evening, were actually moving people. I questioned that. I said the kitchen sink and the power run game, ball control, right? That was the method because of how depleted you are. You don't want to be asking those guys up front, compromised O-line, to back up against Micah and Rashawn and Devontae and the gang. Edgerrin Cooper and guys just flying all over the place. Keyshawn Nixon, by the way, is a really fascinating story that I want to just acknowledge real quick. I don't want to spend a ton of time and dwell on that, but his story just goes to show you why Cowboys fans should be more patient with guys like Mozzie Smith, who we did a deep dive breakdown on this past week. Had a lot of fun doing that one. But Tyler Guyton as well, right? Keyshawn Nixon couldn't so much as get on the field any other way than that special teams. Guys who aren't, highly drafted, that's their route. That's what you got to do. Got to make a name there first. But he did that. Was a dynamic return player. Had multiple return touchdowns on punts and kicks. I just remember it felt like 3 years in a row. Like, why don't this dude? Is he just a special teams ace? Right? Is he just Kavontae Turpin? Is he just Marquise Goodwin? Is he just? Or sorry, I said Marquise Goodwin. Y'all know, you guys know what I'm talking about. The legendary Cowboys special teams ace in his own right, but man, Keyshawn Nixon, I'm like, this guy, this is dynamic levels of play here. And so, point being, I don't want to belabor the point. He goes from just hustle and explosion on special teams lifer, to all of a sudden, it feels like overnight he becomes one of the best pure cover corners in the entire National Football League. That was cool to see, but he's one of those case studies where you're just like, man, I get too impatient sometimes, right? Outside perspective, we hyperfixate on our own teams and our own situations and our own fan bases, right? And it's so easy to lose touch with reality, right? And we remove ourselves from the ability to remember, 31 other teams deal with these types of issues, But for George Pickens to step up the way that he did, man, with so many people counting on him, people like me, just a dude, just a nobody with an opinion and a passion for The sports below the surface truth for the true fan. That's why we're here. I am exposing some of their flaws as human beings, and that hurts to a degree. I tell you guys every time, I'm like, this is an uncomfortable conversation, but it's one that we got to have. If I want to hold myself accountable to be who I say that I am here, I got to do it. Got to talk about it. Got to have uncomfortable conversations. And the truth of the matter is that George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb both were loafing in the running game in week 1. A little bit in week 2, started to get better, but you notice you're behind the scenes. You're like, okay, yeah, I don't take Shotty for a coward. I love everything about the way that he speaks. I love everything about what he says that he stands for. Got to see it play out. We're seeing it play out, ladies and gentlemen. Nate Thomas, left tackle, right tackle. The standard must be the standard. Tyler Guyton, we love where you're headed, brother. But just for this moment, this is a team sport. We got to figure out right here, right now, we got to win this game. Sub in for Terrence. This is a competition. This is a culture of competition, right, Shotty? The standard is the standard, right, Shotty? And the answer so far has been unequivocally yes. And don't worry, we're going to get to the defense. I know that's what you guys are probably waiting for. "70 minutes worth of fight like that. Fight and physicality, that's a win. Trust me. I feel very confident saying that. Very strong opinions about that. I know it sounds weird. They tied. Gave up 40 points on defense. That's what we're about to talk about. The Green Bay Packers are NFC title contenders, guys. That shouldn't be lost on us. Into some of these comments, my fault for going off on a tangent there. See what y'all talking about. I saw Jack Sanborn whiff quite a few times. I did. I saw Trayvon Diggs whiff quite a few times. I did. Okay, so did I miss something? Tyler Guyton went to concussion protocol. Is that why Nate Thomas came back in the game? I didn't catch that. You're right, John. I mentioned the term title contenders a second ago. I spoke on behalf of the Packers in that instance, and I stand by that. The Cowboys currently are not title contenders, but what that should tell you is how good the quarterback and the offense are. How good. Here's number 3 of the day, Mr. Clayton Adams, our third of the day. The level of creativity that you see, the level of nuance in the power run game, to be creative enough with pin pulls, duos, bunch of misdirection. Kevontae Turpin in motion at the snap, coming across the formation. You got, second and third level defenders just frozen. Like, okay, to my right, I've got an absolute a cement truck, and number 33 just running right downhill straight at me, ready to punish with power and pad level. Does it sound familiar? The other side, I got 4.2 speed, game break ability, much like Keyshawn Nixon in his own right. The other former special teams ace, the Green Bay Packers side of things. What do you do? Pick your poison. I saw him try to get crafty. You'll probably stumble upon a video on Instagram from my account that says something along the lines of, this Turpin play, these Turpin types of plays don't work. And it's basically what we just discussed in the pregame. If anybody that's in here currently, 22 total people, didn't see the pregame preview of this matchup here, we talked about, once again, kitchen sink. Dak on a design QB draw in the red zone. That's kitchen sink. There's a couple other instances that I wrote down. I need to start just scroll through my timeline because that gives me a good kind of feel for, like, I wish I didn't do it quite as much, and I really try to be better about it, but I'm not necessarily actively engaging on Twitter during the game. But if I see something, it's just a good way for me to keep tabs on documenting my thoughts, and it helps just as a conversation piece going back and through the timeline of the game in sequential order. I'll just fire off thoughts like, wow, Jadeveon Clowney containing the edge and Kenny Clark cleaning up that run play. That was, just absolute clinical rep right there, and something that Cowboys fans aren't necessarily used to seeing. Just run discipline, rush lane discipline, run gap discipline. And I still can't stop thinking about Brock Hoffman and TJ Bass. Nate Thomas mixing in left and right. Tyler Smith at times throughout that game getting whooped by Devontae Wyatt. But this absolute masterclass from Clayton Adams and Brian Schottenheimer putting together that game plan. And then the offensive line executing it in the way that they did. Guys, Javonte Williams doesn't average, what was his total today? Javonte does not average, 4.3 for Javonte. That's not as good as I thought, but that's not terrible still. Okay, so for the day, they averaged as a team 4.5 yards per carry. That's not quite as much as I thought. But you know what? That's considerably above the 3.2 yards per carry that they've averaged in the playoffs in their most significant losses, much like this one, or against teams like this one, where the Cowboys averaged 3.2 yards per carry. Their last 3 playoff losses, that was the number. Because they didn't have a physical brand, an identity, a multidimensional identity, where they could punish people on the ground, stop teams from punishing them on the ground. And I know they didn't do that. They gave up 164 yards rushing today. But a lot of that is just as a result of your secondary for most of that first half being on their heels, trying to catch up and figure it out. And they finally did. All right, so this is where we get to that discussion about the Cowboys defense. Despite how it felt, despite the explosive plays, despite giving up 164 yards on the ground, that right there, that very same Green Bay team, or we don't even have to go to that game. We can just speak regular season if we want to. There was a time when the Buffalo Bills ran the football 49 times for 259 yards against you. And it would have been way worse. Matt Eberflus's team is clearly they're struggling. They're trying to figure things out. They're banged up in the secondary. They are trying to master a new system. They got guys, their two most snap heavy linebackers. One of them can't really run, and then the other one just sometimes gets stuck and doesn't know what he's seeing. He doesn't feel fast enough. Another one of those uncomfortable conversations that we sometimes got to have, and we had it this week. Didn't play in the preseason. Can't cover people because you can't communicate. You don't really know what you're being tasked to do. And then when you do know your task, you're either completely out of phase or you're taking too big of a risk and you're putting your entire defense in harm's way. And then when it's not one of those two things, you're miscasting your personnel and asking them to be somebody that they aren't. So there's a juggling match right now in a couple different dimensions of this Cowboys defense. Not the coordinator, not the least of which. But he's a good coach. He's here for a reason. Because Brian Schottenheimer felt that he was the most qualified candidate, much like Clayton Adams. He didn't know Matt Eberflus anything. You know Clayton Adams anything. You know Connor Riley anything. The most qualified candidates. And I know Eberflus has previous connections to the Joneses and to, the organization. But that wasn't a handout. Brian Schottenheimer said post-game, we're still early in our process. This is year one in our process of who we are as a team, of our program. That's what he said. Our program. We're in year one. You remember how Dan Campbell's first year in Detroit went? Look that up. And then look at him now. I'm trying to think of what other things I have to say. Okay, why the defense was better. I'm gathering my thoughts here, so bear with me. See what the chat's talking about once catching up. I'll give you an example of why I agree with this comment here. Eberflus seems outdated. I have a very specific example in my head, but I'm going to tell you first why this was improvement. Because the pressure rate, the blitz rate, it went up. The stunt rate, it went up. The tackle for loss rate, it went up. They still gave up explosives. They still gave up significantly more than you would like to admit you gave up on the ground. But you play 70 minutes of football against a really physical football team, you're going to give up a lot of rushing yards. And guess who else gave up a lot of rushing yards? That other really physical football team who's going to contend for the NFC this year. Finishing my thought from earlier, the Cowboys are not currently an NFC contender, clearly. But they're not fully healthy, and they're not a finished product. The Packers aren't fully healthy, and they're not a finished product. They didn't play like an NFC Championship contender tonight. But I'm telling you right now, your perception of the Cowboys specifically, because this is a Cowboys-centric channel, the sports below the surface truth on sports in general, but specifically the Cowboys and the Longhorns. Your perception is skewed, most of you, because of the general public. They're really good at it because of the microscope. It's real easy to be led astray on what the truth really is, what reality truly is. It's a soap opera. Jerry said it in the documentary on Netflix, in case you missed it. A 365-day-a-year soap opera. That's why they're the world's most valuable sports franchise. It's not because they're good. It's because they're the brand. They're elite marketers. They've been historically good. But they weren't $13.1 billion of revenue in the 90s when they were winning their Super Bowls. And that's a different rabbit hole that we're not going to crawl into. But Maris Leofau was an issue tonight, and I see that in the comments. So that's why I'm addressing it again. Because while Maris Leofau may have made a mistake tonight, he did so at 100 miles per hour. The maniacal Maris Leofau that we know and love here on this channel, or that we are honest about, dating back to as long ago as about week 9 against the Steelers in his rookie year last year. Maris doesn't. He's a heat-seeking missile, and in many cases, he doesn't miss. And specifically against Matthew Golden on that punt return, who was abruptly replaced by Romeo Doubs as a result of the lackadaisical, lackluster nature of whatever that spin move was on that play. I still don't really know what he was thinking there. And I'm a Texas guy. But he's going to get himself killed because of people like Maris Leofau, who play with a reckless abandon that is rare. An IQ, according to Mike Zimmer, and yes, I mean Mike Zimmer, last year's coach, the 30-year veteran who didn't have to say anything nice to the first-year player on day 1 of OTAs, nonetheless. Wow. Him being one of the most instinctual football players he's ever coached. You don't just hand out, 30-year vets like Zimmer don't just hand out compliments like that to Maris Leofau. I'm sorry, they don't. Especially not hard-nosed coaches like Mike Zimmer, who are not necessarily known to go out of their way to say nice things about anyone. He made a mistake tonight, but he made that mistake at 150 miles an hour. Full speed. You know what? This guy's kind of bobbling the football right now a little bit. I'm just going to make sure. I don't know. It's just because it's maybe it's in my DNA as a football player to just go hit somebody. Are we really going to be mad at Maris Leofau about that? Of all the things that went wrong, when 40 points wasn't enough, for your MVP caliber quarterback and his offense, his newfound budding star, who's got a payday coming in a moment like this. I realized I didn't finish that thought earlier. There's so much to think about. I love it. George Pickens earned himself a payday, or he's on his way. We'll keep tracking the run blocking. We'll keep tracking all that stuff. But it won't just be him. It's going to be everybody. But today, George Pickens had a chance in a contract year for his biggest and best shot at generational money. On that stage, he went out there and he did it. 8 catches, 134 yards, 2 total touchdowns. But in the most critical moments, and there were catches beyond just the touchdown receptions and the goal line
reception, setting them up for touchdowns. Some critical third down moments, some chain moving moments where Dak trusted number 3 over the middle of the field in traffic. That's what I notice more, as much or more than the touchdowns themselves. So to this point here, where Eberflus seems outdated, and thank you for the comment, Taco. Or Tack. Is it Tack of Terror? Sending Reddy Stewart towards the end of the game where he kind of just got caught in no man's land. I think it was a third down moment, and I'm pretty sure it was Matthew Golden who ended up with the reception. Just a zone of the field that was just completely vacated by a blitz that was brought from way too far. It takes 3.5 at best seconds to get there. And that's if nobody's in your way. That's if you come scot-free. And that's rare. Especially from that level, good offensive lines are going to pick it up. They're going to communicate real time. Much like Tyler Smith, he realized that Micah Parsons beat Tyler Guyton. And he almost had the play of the century where Micah did get the pressure. Dak was able to get the ball off. But he pressured Dak and could have sacked him very easily. But Tyler Smith almost made none of that happen by just being a lifeline for Tyler Guyton in that moment. He just reacted because he's a good offensive lineman. That's what he does. So to have Reddy Stewart sent from 8 yards behind the line of scrimmage, that to me, that's not blitzing. That is outdated. Because you can't confuse good quarterbacks like that, like in the NFL in general, but quarterbacks like Jordan Love who have systems under the Shanahan tree, of LaFleur with like easy buttons, much like Dak right now. Like there's a lot more easy buttons built into the Cowboys system. He was still pressured out the wazoo tonight. And making throws under pressure, evading pressure. But to try to alter the quarterback or confuse him or whatever when he's not even reading you anyway, he's going to go through the progression of the offense and just make the right smart throw quickly because there's buttons built into it. They're concept beaters all over the place. That to me is just weird. It's almost like a desperation. I don't know. We gotta watch it. And yes, try to intro the show with that just to make sure that that's not lost on anybody here. It shouldn't be. But I know how the media, like I said, people. It's easy for y'all to be misled because of mainstream media. Sometimes spin it. Just they'll lean into the idea that it's always on one player. It's just not even close to true. It's not reality. It's not real life. Tolbert did show up a few times tonight. He sure did. I'm still going to press pause on the Eberflus hate, man. I don't know. I feel like it's hard for me to take myself seriously when I wear these. I'm just going to do it. I'm taking them off. What do you guys think about the play call on? So it was right after, I guess it was Pickens, whatever set them up on goal to go pretty much. And it was from the 4-yard line. They had a 1st and goal carry of Javonte Williams that kind of got stuffed for half a yard. That was also posted on my Instagram. You guys may stumble upon that anyway, but it was goal to go. The first play of that sequence was a stuffed run, and I guess ESPN probably actually has it. Second one was an incompletion. The third one, Dak threw it away, and they settled for a field goal right before, I guess it was an OT. Must have been, had to have been OT. You guys know what I'm talking about. That sequence, right? Yes, sir. Hey, man, I'm just here for the truth to be out. Whatever the truth is, man, that's all I want. That's it. So I appreciate you being here and for the words of support. Thank you. If it's me, I know Javonte just got stuffed. I think it was first and goal from the 5. He goes for 1 yard to the 4. It gets stuffed for 1 yard. Okay, that's a run stuff to me. But then you throw it 2 more times consecutively, where it's already the most difficult to throw it anyway. In general, I just don't love it, especially if I know I have a newfound power run identity where I'm averaging 5 yards per carry with a guy like Javonte Williams, who plays with power and pad level, who doesn't fall backwards, who only falls forward. If he's hit behind the line of scrimmage, he's going to get you at least 1. Always. I'm running it 1 more time before I put the ball in the hands of the quarterback. It's the most difficult area of the field to do so. You would rather that have been first and goal from the 15, or sorry, third and goal from the 15. You have a better chance of scoring a touchdown from the 15 than you do from the 4, throwing the football. All I'm saying, and it's so easy to be hindsight 2020, but the only reason I'm bringing it up is because we had this conversation last week. 3rd and 4th and 1 from the 1, I am handing the football to Javonte Williams. That was last week. This week, 2nd and goal from the 4, and he doesn't touch it again. That's wrong to me. Because if you run it on 2nd down, even if he gets you 2, now you're thinking, okay, I have 2 plays to get 2 yards. And you take that fight every single time, too, if you have this mentality every single time. And you go and put 7 on the board, no matter what. If what this game right here, the average yards per carry total of Javonte Williams, if just the mere average happens again, you're knocking on the door. You're sniffing it. If the average play happens, and I get it, they load the box more whenever you have that approach, right? I love a spread to run approach personally. When you have a running back who is going to fall forward regardless of who hits him, and that includes defensive linemen because of power and pad level, I'm spreading to run from that situation. And that in that moment, if it's me, and no one's asking me, I'm just saying, I'm thinking out loud. I'm spreading to run. But I'm putting the ball in the hands of Javonte Williams at least 1 more time. Because that's what you're taking points, I get it, from the 4 after an incompletion. But if you have an incompletion on 3rd and 1 from the 1, you're also going to go for it on 4th, or at least you probably should think about it. With the current state of your defense, man, you better go for it on 4th and 1. The odds of you getting, I'm saying all I need is 2. All I need is 2 on 2nd and 4. Can I get 2 out of Javonte? This is just how my head thinks, guys. I'm not trying to nitpick or anything like that. I know it sounds that way. But these are just the conversations that I'm having in real time, and I'm posting about it real time, just so y'all know. This is not premeditated. This is not conspiratorial. This is nothing. This is just from a fan's perspective, putting myself in the shoes of the people. This is what I'm thinking. In real time, I'm like, all right, give me 1 more run so that it sets up 3rd and goal from the 2 or less. And I know I'm scoring a touchdown. I will not accept any other fate. When my interior is moving people the way that they were tonight, with no Devontae Wyatt, with Kenny Clark on my team now. They're a pass stop mentality, much more so than they are a run stop defense and mentality. The Packers, that is. Do we understand that? Like, does that resonate well, or am I not making sense? See, I don't love that. See, I disagree strongly, JP. I disagree strongly. An RB dependent on blocks. So that's an oversimplification, man. What we got to say is that RB who was depending on the blocks were depending on the scheme. And it's one accord. It's one harmony. They are all as one. It is not one versus the other. That's where we have to stop thinking of it black and white. It's like, this is a team game. It's a team sport. And the reality is, on that area of the field, 4 yards or to go. 4 yards in the red area in general, but half the red area. Actually, a quarter of the red area. The smallest part of the field you throw the football from. That segment, that quadrant right there. Where you already don't throw against the Packers anyway. But from that part of the field, JP, surely we see, like, you're setting yourself up to fail. The sport, the boundary, the back of the end zone says you will not throw it here. Sorry. You don't have success throwing from the pocket from there. Design rollout? Sure. Give your quarterback a two-way go and let him run it again, like you did earlier in the game when you needed him to go QB draw and punch one in, because you kitchen sink him. Kitchen sink him with run on the goal line. I would not be saying this if it wasn't already an issue. There's a reason why I'm passionate about it. Because recurring problems, we try to see them go away. We try to see the coaching staff learn from their mistakes. That frustrates me. When you're a power approach, when you want to prove that, when you have already proven it in the game, and when the Packers have proven to you that you don't let them throw it, and when the sport of football double proves that you don't throw it on that area of the field, especially against the Packers, you run the damn ball. From 2nd and 4, you cut that in half, and then it's 2 yards to ball game. That's the way you got to think. That's the way Javonte Williams thinks. I promise you. Ask him. Ask him, did he want the ball on 2nd and 4 with the game on the line from the 4-yard line? Ask him. Somebody ask him. I'll tell my sources to ask him. I got people in the building. I'll tell him. I'll ask him politely to ask him. I'll do it right now. I'll send a text right now. I don't care if it's 1 a.m. I'm going to prove a point. Phone's about to die. Ask Javonte Williams if he wanted the football from 2nd and goal from the 4. That's a humble cat now. He won't tell you that himself. He won't go out of his way to say it, but if you ask him, he will. You know what? Take it a step further. Sorry, I love these topics. I love it. Thank you, JP. I'm not mad at you, brother. I'm just fired up. I'm passionate about this topic, bro. That's it. I'm sorry. I'm yelling. I'm not yelling at you. I'm just yelling at the scenario. Because there's a immense body of work, an immense thought process, an immense amount of study. Not just for the coaching staff, for the organization, but for me. Like this is my livelihood to a degree, right? Now, whether they win or whether they lose, people still care. So that's a good thing. That's cool for me. That helps. The Cowboys don't have to win, but I want them to. It makes it more fun. I'll tell you that right now. It matters to me. And it's not just Shoddy. I'm not mad at Shoddy. But if you ask him, much like you asked Javonte, I bet you he'll tell you, I probably should have handed the ball to Javonte Williams one more time. Probably should have. Maybe should have let Dak keep it one more time. Probably should have. Ask Dak. Somebody ask him and tell me. Tell me I'm crazy. Hunter Lipke too, I don't care. He wasn't the hot hand tonight. That's why I left him out. But if you feel that that's your kitchen sink, because I clearly felt like it was Kevontae Turpin, I still trust the thought process, by the way. I'll say that 10 more times out of 10. Y'all probably going to hear me say it again next week. And they'll probably do it. Just wait for it. This game played out differently than I think that they thought that it would. And thank you, Glenn. That fires me up, dude. Love the passion. That's why I subscribe to this channel. Reed's in the house, too. What's up, Reed? That's my brother right there. Reed had an interesting point earlier, and maybe we'll get to it. He was touching on it's more situational stuff. Maybe should George Pickens had gone into or out of bounds instead of scoring that last touchdown that he did? Should he have gone out of bounds at the 1 yard line and the Cowboys, milk some clock, force the Packers to take some timeouts, and then play the whole clock control game? Interesting thought, and I don't hate that thought process. It's outside the box. That's sports below the surface thinking right there. That stuff, I'll talk about it all day long. I love it. But so for me, my answer was there are too many things that can go wrong. First and foremost, you can have a pre-snap penalty, much like they did on a couple different occasions tonight. You can absolutely get blown up, right? You can choose to try to throw the ball on the 1 as opposed to running it like you should. Your head coach might make a human error because he's a human being. You might do something stupid and try to throw it from inside the 4 yard line twice as opposed to running it twice. You might do something a little ill-advised. You might forget to learn from your mistakes. Some of those things could happen. But to Reed's question, why don't they do that? It's just because there's too many things can go wrong. That's the simple answer. But the sports below the surface part of that, the human part of that, the George Pickens part of that is he can't process that's too much. His natural instinct, much like Maris Leofau, takes over, right? When he doesn't slow up and gets an unsportsmanlike or unnecessary roughness, whatever it was, late hit. Because his brain says, I only know one speed. I'm a linebacker. I only know one thing. I'm a heat-seeking missile. I play with Marist maniacal effort. I seek, I hit, I try to kill. Matthew Golden. His instinct took over. I know that's a foreign concept to the general public, the mass media. They don't talk about instinct. They talk about football as a one-player sport. They only know the quarterback. They don't know who the heck Reddy Stewart is. They don't do 30-minute breakdowns on Reddy Stewart. They don't do Mozzie Smith every snaps. And be honest, when the whole fan base wants you to hate him, they don't break down Mozzie Smith's reps on national television. They don't. I promise you. I see them. I have kids. Certain things that I'm interested in will end. Like, let's just say, I don't know, just for the algorithm this weekend. Let's just say Team USA versus Europe. Let's say golf ends on a Saturday because Texas is on a bye week. So I'm not watching football. I'm watching golf. One Saturday during football season every 2 years, I'm not watching football. That happened to be this weekend. But let's say that ends and these television shows come on after the fact. And I just so happened to hear things like they only talk about this matchup when it was far beyond that. This was Dak Prescott versus Micah Parsons. And this is what's going through my head. Not that.
All right, yeah, get him the hell out of here, will you, please? Get him out of here. Throw him out.
I lost my train of thought, but they don't go to the levels that we do here. It doesn't matter nearly as much to them. But to finish the thought on Reed is just the sports below the surface part of all that, of why George Pickens did the right thing by scoring, is because it's too much to account and plan for. You just play the sport the way that you always have, the way that it's supposed to be played, right? And you just, your instinct takes over, and that's just what it is. But I love the thought process once again. Let's see what else we got. Texas lost to the bye week. You crazy. Not a fan of the Ryder Cup up in here or what? Can I get another one of these?
Yeah!
For Javonte Williams and Pass Pro tonight? Actually, he deserves two of them.
Yeah!
It's so it's actually JP, it's more readily available than it ever has been. College tape is almost impossible. I just so happen to know a guy. But the NFL is a different story. Average Joes like me can actually access it anytime they want. I agree. The game should not. Okay, so now let's talk about that. Did anybody question the clock at the end of the game? Anybody? Because Dak did. I'll tell you that much. Now, let me just preface before anybody goes saying that I'm saying anything about conspiracies and whatnot. I do think they got it right. I went back and I watched, and then even after the fact, at the end of the game, Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico. Tirico? That sounds wrong. Am I crazy? Not crazy. That was definitely Mike Tirico. Okay. Anyway, yeah, so you saw what I'm talking about, JP. Kelvin said the same thing. It should have went to 0. I don't know about that. And ooh, Colin, I see what you did there. Hold up. Look at my guy Colin. Look what he said. That's where my head went at first. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. Because I'm human. It happens. We think about that stuff. Just like Reed. He's a human. He asks questions. His brain starts critically thinking. He's like, George Pickens have done that? And I'll say things like Nate Thomas came in to replace Tyler Guyton because the coaching staff thought that that was the best thing to do. But apparently I missed the whole, I don't know how I missed it, but somehow I missed Tyler Guyton was being evaluated for a concussion. Is that correct? So I will just say, I went back and while you guys, somebody's answering me about Tyler Guyton. I did go back and I watched it. That's crazy. To me, it looked like that it was a true 1 second left. It really did. No foul play, no conspiracy, nothing. I'm just being like, I took a couple deep breaths. I went back. I grabbed my remote. I have a video of it. It's posted on my Instagram and TikTok as well at The Lando Show on all socials. The clock stopped when it should have, and there was still time left. I'll go watch it again, and I might change my mind again. But for right now, that's where I land. You guys all agree? Okay. You're saying yes to the concussion protocol. I missed that somehow. That makes a ton of sense. But the play that I was specifically referencing earlier, too, just for context and clarity, was Rob Shan says, that's why Thomas was in at right tackle. I thought we were talking about Guyton. Which of the two, Steele or Guyton, who was being evaluated for a concussion? It's Kelvin. It's really hard for me to. He says Bland didn't look good. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. All I will say is that for me, I never know how the corners play in the passing game. I can see them come down willingly, fit the run, play the run, right? Tackle. I can see some of those things. Every now and then you'll see pass breakups or somebody give up a long touchdown, and that'll sort of formulate our opinion, but we don't necessarily know on a down in, down out basis, like grand scheme, how well did the DB play? Because they're usually not pictured and they're definitely not focused on. Like the television broadcast, that's one of the perks, one of the few these days, because the TV broadcast is so good. You get the announcers, you get replays, you get commercial breaks, you get free access to food, drink, potty, whenever you need to, right? You can hang out with your family. You can be more comfortable in a climate controlled area, right? There's a lot of benefits to not going to the game. But one of the things I love about going to the game, and I love attending sporting events that I'm not overly interested in, if that makes sense. Like where I'm just a literal casual bystander. I can go to a sporting event and I can see things that the television broadcast would not reveal to me. I can feel the energy. I can watch the way certain guys interact on the sideline. I can see plays develop. I can key in on one specific position like, okay, I really want to watch Deron Bland on this play. That's all I'm going to watch. That's one of my favorite parts about going to training camp. This year was my first year getting to do that. And part of the reason is because of y'all. You people that are here with me right now. You nerds. You Cowboys, you football nerds that should be asleep on a 1 a.m. on Monday morning. But there's 37 of you in here hanging out with me. You 37 are the reason why I get to go do stuff like what I got to do this year. And that was really freaking cool for me. And I really freaking appreciate that. So thank you. But I get to see things that like I get to have an entire YouTube show where all it is me trying to highlight an underdog. Let me get 3 of these for my guy James Houston.
Yeah! Yeah!
One more time, Lil John.
Yeah!
The guy who was an afterthought. Off the streets from HBCU to from, was it Florida to HBCU? I forget which. Let me go back and check. Let me make sure my James Houston history is correct. Because I know he went to Florida, but then he went to Jacksonville State, but I don't remember which order. Is Jacksonville State HBCU? Somebody tell me. I should know that. Did I say Jacksonville State? Definitely not what I meant. I'm pretty sure. Okay, here we go. Pro Football Reference. Pretty sure he went to Florida first, and then Jackson. What year was Florida? Probably doesn't even matter. You guys don't even care, but I care. I don't know. I don't remember what order that happened. Somebody can tell me if you guys were that interested, but I know he went to Florida, went to Jackson State, got drafted, or was an undrafted guy, stuck around, got called up from the Lions practice squad. They were banged up, battered with injuries last year. I need to charge my phone. My wife might text me and say, "Help. Help, please." We'll have kid number 3 here in no time. Reed just got kid number 3. Shout out to Reed. Man, there's so much that I haven't talked about. I really should just go to bed, yo. I'm sorry. I realize I haven't even mentioned Wanye Thomas yet tonight. I'm an hour into this thing. I'm just now talking about James Houston. That kind of makes me mad. So I apologize for that. Did I say Jacksonville State that blatantly? That should show you how, like, I was shook after that game, man. There was so much to think about and process. That was crazy. Yeah, Florida then Jackson State. Sounds right. Needless to say, guys, practice squad with the Lions, gets called up about halfway through the year, has 8 sacks. Off the streets, man. Off the streets of Jackson State. UDFA, practice squad, called up. In his debut, he sacks Josh Allen not once, but twice. My guy James Houston, man, that deserves one of these.
Yeah!
And then also one of these.
Damn!
Because that guy, when he's on the field, when he's getting snaps, when he is out snapping Sam Williams, Dante Fowler. That's one of the big changes tonight, by the way. Listen to that.
Guys,
Listen.
Okay, what?
We had a tough conversation last week about Dante Fowler. And I think that I don't know the snap share, the snap counts, the snap totals, the performance. I don't know. But my gut tells me that our instinct, our discussion was correct. Our hypothesis proved to be correct about Jadeveon Clowney. This wasn't about Jadeveon Clowney, guys. This was the domino effect that people like Jadeveon Clowney create. That's what this was. That's what Jadeveon Clowney was. What about him? It was about what was there. That's the ugly conversations. That's the stuff that's not so good. We just tied with the Green Bay Packers. There ain't a sports media soul on this planet that went bold face. That's not a delinquent delusionist. There ain't a sports media soul on this planet that felt good going into that game. They tied. They made certain mistakes. The defense gave up chunk plays. The Cowboys scored 40 points, and it still wasn't enough. But you and I, you know what? I am confident. I know a couple of the people that are in this chat with me right now, 34 y'all. I know Reed. I've been talking to Mr. Shotty tonight. I've been talking to Rob. I've been talking to Colin. I've been talking to JP. I've been talking to Six Wheel Cowboy. I've been talking to Cam. I've been talking to Scott. We're all here. We're all just like-minded individuals seeking community, trying to talk this thing through. I don't know each of the 34 people in here by name right now. I know a few of them. Listen, Linda. Shout out to Rob. Hopefully I'm saying that right. R-A-B. That's interesting, but I like it. It's different. Different's good. I know that all 34 of y'all, myself included, not one of us went bold-faced public with the fact that the Cowboys were going to score 40 points tonight against this Green Bay Packers team. Not a single one. Not a single 31 of us 34 right now. Listen.
Guys.
Listen, Linda.
Ain't a single one of us that felt like we was actually going to not lose this game today. Right? What's up, B Fatty? I love that name, man. What's going on, man? It's Hebrew for abundant grace. I love that. I'll actually might look into that. I like that. Shout out to you, Rob. Is it Rob? Am I pronouncing that correct? Hope I'm pronouncing that correct. That's cool. I'll look into that. One of my favorite things to do lately is forget the guy's name. It's actually kind of new to me. I don't know how he's new to me. But upon looking into who he is, I realized that I must have been under a rock somehow. But Cliff, I think you pronounce it Knettle. I just like listening to him debate people about Christianity, about Jesus. I like that stuff. I like challenging perspectives or what certain people or what I might believe to be the norm, the tradition, what I know to be true, what I believe firmly. I like thinking critically about those topics, and Cliff helps me do that. So maybe tonight I'll look into what Rob's saying. That's pretty cool. I like that. I'm always trying to learn new things, man. I think it's healthy to kind of branch out, right? To not necessarily master new topics or to pick up new skills or hobbies or things like that, but just to learn. Like do something new, Like go somewhere you've never been, talk to somebody you never talked to, take a risk. Be uncomfortable. Have uncomfortable conversations. Don't want to talk about Kenneth Murray, but do it because you got to. Don't want to be honest about Mozzie Smith when people are going to start punching at you because they don't want anybody to say good things about Mozzie. The cool thing is to say that Mozzie Smith is a fat, lazy waste of a draft pick that doesn't belong on this roster. But the film says otherwise. The coaches, the coaching staff who's out here saying, all right, I still don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I still don't know which. I'm guessing it was Guyton that had the concussion evaluation. I still don't know. But regardless, okay? Jadon Blue, let's just do it this way. Jadon Blue he's not ready. He ain't playing. Sorry. Sorry about it. Jadeveon Clowney, as bad as we needed him after what we saw in week 2 against the Giants. Dang, man. We were all excited, right? We signed Jadeveon Clowney, and then we find out he's not playing. Then it's like, oh, God. After the game against the Bears, we're like, oh, season's over. 1-2. It's a wrap. When we knew what to expect, the fact that you were frustrated with that situation going into game 3, that tells me that you weren't honest enough with yourself about week 2. You should know that this is a talented team that clearly feeds off of momentum and energy, as most teams do, but this one in particular. There's a lot riding on every single play, every single mistake. Why? Because there's people like me. There's idiots like me that are going to break down everything. And guess what? People are going to talk about it, right or wrong. So yeah, energy, momentum swings, that stuff kind of is a big deal for this team. It kind of matters a little bit. You know? It's kind of a big deal, right? Does that sound crazy to y'all? Y'all got to talk to me, man. I got to know if I'm making sense, because half the time I don't even know if what I'm saying makes sense to anybody besides myself. Sanborn has a slow feet, don't eat problem, right? He does. Let's be honest. Let's be honest about that. But guess what? He was brought here to help guys like Shamar James come of age, to help guys like Maris Leofau come of age, to bridge the gap to, here's a thought, DeMarvion Overshown. Right? That's why Jack Sanborn is here. And you know what? What's funny to me? I hate this word because I think it's so overused. This will be my second time ever saying it. And I agree with Mr. Shotty. Hit the like button, because without me or without you, there is no me. Okay? And that's the best and the cheapest and the most free way to help me out. You ain't got to say nothing. You ain't got to do anything other than tap one simple button, man. You don't even have to subscribe. I try not to say subscribe because all the old people that come up in here, these YouTube streets, man, they'll be like, I'll get people ask me, so how much does it cost to subscribe? I'm like, dude, oh man, we got to change that terminology. You know, I gotta have those conversations these days. It's just, I laugh. I love it. It's funny to me, but I try to just say hit the like button. I agree with Shotty, man. I still don't know. I don't know if I saw anybody say whether they agree or disagree with the decision to, I know we had that conversation, and I think maybe I saw one person agree, but throwing it or not, one time versus two times in crunch time right there. That's an interesting topic, man. I'm a dwell on that for a little bit. Just, I don't know. I'll have to look at that. I did want to acknowledge, so the Maris Leofau play, I don't know if I said earlier that he was partially responsible for, in my opinion, the energy swing, the original energy swing that really seemed to stop the momentum. It gave the Cowboys their first sort of spark. You know, it was right before that special teams block from Wanye Thomas. Shout out to Wanye, by the way. So weird. I said to Okoye, he said something about Wanye, and of course we've been talking about Wanye Thomas here for a few different years. It just seems weird. Like, is it really play over politics that's keeping him off the field right now? I don't know. I hate to say that. I hate to speculate that. Somehow Donovan Wilson's a captain. And shout out to him. That's a cool thing. That's a really cool honor. That just type of leader that Donovan Wilson is, right? He's the punching bag right now for this Cowboys team too. But let's just be honest, right? Like the captain C on his chest, that means something, you know? So let's give him that respect. Let's also say though, hey, yeah, he's not great in coverage. That's fine. Flus doesn't have to ask him to do it. You know, it kind of goes both ways, right? I think that's fair. But then, thank you. I see you. I see you. Thank you. I don't know. I got to get up out of here because my allergies starting to go crazy. That means it's time to go to bed. My eyes hurting. Need to shower a little bit. Feeling kind of stanky up in here. That boy needs some soap. Listen.
Okay, what?
Okay, what? So that video is timeless, man. I'm trying to think. What else do I need to say, guys? Let me go through. You know what? Let me do this real quick. We'll go 5 more minutes here. 5 to 10 more. Let me take a quick restroom break. I'll be right back. All right, just thinking about this while I was out there. This will tell me right here to really handle these post games because I never really know how to approach them. Like, do I try to go straight numbers? Do I try to just talk about my personal experience type thing? You guys probably feel me on that. What I want to do just to finish this off is little outside. Little outside, just it's good for the body, mind, and soul. You know, it kind of frees you up a little bit, clears the mechanism, right? Let's just go through the time I was saying, what I was thinking. That'll kind of help me put my thoughts together. Oh, this right here. Tell me this ain't sad. Hold on. This is tough. That's just tough. No, come on. I gotta be careful with that. I get copyrights for that one. Hell, that's tough. That's another one too, man. And that, I know you guys feel me. 43 seconds left after the Cowboys scored that touchdown. Or that must have been, yeah. That was that prior to overtime. See, I need to go to bed. I can't even think straight anymore. 43 seconds is 43 minutes for that Cowboys secondary. Yeah. What a game. There's so many ups and downs in that game. That's crazy. So many untimely penalties. I felt like there was a lot of penalties in that one. Yeah, here's another one. Clayton Adams deserves one of these. Yeah! Regardless of what happens on the potential game-winning drive, I just got to say one thing. Whatever Clayton Adams makes, it's not enough. One more time for Clayton Adams. Yeah! Listen, on that note, when we get Shoddy and Clayton and company on one accord, dialed in the red zone, more kitchen sink in the run game, more physicality, first and foremost, in the run game, especially in those areas of the field. Y'all realize CeeDee Lamb tonight? Y'all realize that? You know how dangerous this offense is? Mind-blowing. Like, do we understand how significant that is? No BB, no Booker, no C. 40. Near perfection from what we could have expected in the run and what we got in the pass, as well as the run. Near perfection. Turnover-free football, yeah? Am I right about turnover-free football? Turnovers, right? No fumbles, no picks. Not running it twice instead of once. 2nd and 4 to go. That should get docked for that one. That's a mistake to me, and I hope they fix that in the future. Somebody clip this. Send it to me. I'll freaking clip it. I don't care. I got to do everything anyway. I might as well do that too. me. It's coming soon. Just wait for it. We'll be much more efficient. We'll be much more organized. We'll be much more timely. But hey, until then, it's my microphone, my camera, my studio, my measly laptop. I don't even have a mouse up in here. I'm just freaking making all the thumbnails, coming up with all the descriptions for every YouTube video, trying to stay on top of trends and things like that on TikTok and Twitter. And it's a lot. I wear a lot of hats. Probably too many. Hopefully one day soon we'll take care of that and we'll be a lot more organized. Social media manager would be awesome. I'm just going to speak that into existence because Lord knows I need it. I'm just so I'm an unorganized person that I'm not proud of, that I'm actively working on. One of my disciplines that, like, for instance, I'm the world's worst handyman in a lot of ways. Let's just say I can do things, and I love doing things outdoors, things with my hands, working, I'm not good at it necessarily innately. It's just always been sports my whole life. I just know ball. That's it. It's the only thing I love outside of my family. Only thing I'm ever been good at. Like, let's be real. But things like putting together, like a gift, a Christmas gift, or a rocking chair. We got 2 rocking chairs for my birthday, so my wife and I can watch the game together. Just hang out in the shop together, watch the girls play together, whatever. Just chilling on the back porch, front porch, wherever, whatever the case. Ordinarily speaking, I would just sit there like that box until somebody came over and said, "Hey, what is that?" And I would just think it would almost be out of sight, out of mind, even though it was in sight. That was like, it was one of my things I'm not proud of. I would just let something sit, just put it off until it absolutely had to be done. I hated that. And I still struggle with that, but I'm getting better about it. It's part of, I guess, maturity or growing up or whatever the case, three kids be here soon. So those types of things, right? That's got to go. I got to be better about that. But point being, I actually don't even know where I was going with that. Where the heck was I going with that? Somebody? Ooh, it's been a day. I've been up since 5 a.m. It's almost 2. Yeah, it's time. It's time to call it. A couple plays from 2 and 2. That's an interesting thought. Oh yeah, I agree with you on that one. And this is a great place to end right here. Great note to end on. This is the worst our defense will be. Savon Rebel comes back over. See, that's what. So that was my. I love that thought process, Cam. That's what I thought last week as well. I said, why are people pretending like Deron Bland's reinsertion back into the lineup just doesn't matter? Like, why is the defense a done deal? Why is 450 yards and however many touchdowns? It's like 800 yards and 8 touchdowns to Russell Wilson and Caleb Williams in consecutive weeks. Why is that just the norm? That's the low of lows. That's the pits. That's historically bad. But that's week 2 and 3. Does anybody in here remember week 2 from last year? Does anybody remember what happened in that Saints game and what the conversation was about Mike Zimmer as a result? Do we not remember? Do we not remember who played on that team? Who was on that team for the Cowboys that day? Week 2. Off the edge. One specific guy come to mind? Maybe the guy that you played against tonight that apparently got a sack. That conversation was hilarious. That interaction. The human element of sport is so cool. I'm interested about the Savon Rebel Jr. thing, man. It's a lot for a rookie in general to make the jump, college to pro. There's always there's growing pains, right? But the knee to have a known setback, right, to a degree, when we thought he was going to be full go for camp. That was the word on the street at one point this summer. That obviously didn't happen, and that's okay. But I would temper expectation with Savon Rebel Jr. Not that I'm not excited to see him. I can't wait. I really can't wait to see him out there on the field because that's a first round talent. Let's be real. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about that. Jack Sanborn isn't going to be on the field for the rest of the year. That's a gap bridger. Okay. Kyer Elam is a gap bridger. To Trayvon Diggs, much less Savon Rebel Jr. Okay. Let me get another one of these for Reddy Stewart, by the way. We got us one. And I keep saying we. I try to stop saying that too. Maturity. That's where I was going. But Reddy Stewart it makes sense, right? We were so confused talking about. So I have videos on my channel. One of them is the most productive Cowboys player you've never heard of, James Houston. And then I have another one, the second most productive Cowboys player you've never heard of, Zion Childress. Or I think I said maybe most important, something along those lines. And Reddy Stewart was brought on way late in the process, mind you. This is like I'm talking within the last 3 weeks. 4 weeks, I guess. And Zion Childress, as excited as we all were as a fan base about him, about his nickel ability, his cover ability, his scrap in the run game, his physicality, like literally blitzing into the A and B gaps, man, mixing it up with the big boys up in there. And Shadi acknowledging that at the podium, just super cool to see a UDFA like that. He's obviously now with the Texans. That was tough to see. He got poached last week, but it is what it is. The Cowboys cut Zion Childress in the first place for Reddy Stewart. They waived him for Reddy. Much like Jack Sanborn, Reddy had familiarity from his time with the Bears with Eberflus's scheme. I think they got him one. The Cowboys got themselves one. One of them ones. I think you can leave Reddy Stewart out there and feel good. Whatever it is, I don't know. He was hit or miss tonight, and he made a couple when it mattered the most. But there's also quite a few questionable ones too. Let's be honest. Let's be honest about it. Reddy Stewart can play, and he will continue to do so if he keeps playing like the way that he did today. The Jameson, don't fret about that. We talked about that situation. Hopefully everybody's on the same page. Yeah, a lot of injuries in the secondary, man. A lot of inexperience as far as communication. We got rookie 5th round, day 3 pick, Shamar James out there. The most meaningful reps, looking like a chicken with his head cut off. God bless him. Thrown into the fire. And it seems, a time or two. It's like just about everybody else on that side of the ball. Out of this. The pressure will continue to come. Sam Williams keeps getting close, man. Maybe it all together, maybe he won't. The one thing that I know is that, especially as he, alongside Jadeveon Clowney a little bit more often than we saw today, and Dave Fowler when he's only asked to do the things that he is good at doing. When you combine that with Osa, when you combine that with Kenny, when you combine that with Solly, and then Mozzie continuing to get better week by week, clearly coaching staff thinks so. The tape thinks so. The D-line includes the edge is going to be just fine. The pressure will come because that's much easier to manufacture. You can manufacture pressure much more seamlessly than you can manufacture communication and IQ on the back end. That should remain the biggest concern. Yes, and coverage, it's chicken and the egg in a lot of cases. I get it. They are directly impact and affect each other. Pass rush is going to be just fine, especially when you get more weapons back, like these coming. Especially when people like Jeffrey Simmons are out on the open market. Especially when things can be done to solve those issues. When you know that health is coming. Health in this and help is coming. Who they are today is not who they will be. Who they were today was pretty dang good. And I hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Pretty impressive, all things considered. That's what I want to end on right there. All right. Remember, you guys, enjoy your Monday.